Noida, one of India's fastest growing industrial hub, witnessed a massive labor unrest. And if you think that this unrest and protest was about wages, you are wrong. This unrest and protest was about the reflection, how that we get to see that we have deep structural issues. Structural issues ranging from wage disparity to weak enforcement of labor laws. And this was a culmination of it, which was addressed by the government through policy as well as administration. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to decipher that what went wrong, that we had to see more than 40,000 people vandalizing, protesting and asking for their rights in ways that it had to be addressed in means we are seeing in front of us. So now let us begin with some background. So when we are talking about this region where we have seen the protest unfold, Noida and Ghaziabad, part of Delhi NCR region, but if we talk about state-wise, they are part of Uttar Pradesh state. Now, this is part of India's key manufacturing hub, the whole ecosystem. These two places are very important from the manufacturing ecosystem and also the export along with it. Now, because of that, it not only attracts migrant laborers but also MSMEs and many large industries. And this is where we have seen rapid industrialization happening in this region, especially when we talk about last 15 years. Now, whenever in such a place we get to see rapid industrialization, it also further creates labor welfare gaps and also regulatory challenges. And this is where this case emerges, the Noida protest emerges as a classic example where we see conflict between the economic policies which are causing the rapid industrialization, rapid urbanization and social welfare. Now, when we are talking about what exactly happened here, now that you have a fair background around it, so it basically began with a protest which was a peaceful demonstration initially over low wages and also poor working conditions that were present. But it very quickly escalated into large mobilization. I am talking about more than 40,000 people and sudden spread of this across industrial clusters which are present in this region. Now, the moment the scale expanded, the escalation happened, we also saw violence also coming in. It included arson, it included stone pelting, it included public property damage as well. And this is where we got the immediate administration response in form of arrest, in form of surveillance, in form of heavy deployment of police along this region. But you have to understand that what this highlights the fact that when we are talking about economic policies and there is gap in terms of social welfare, that can easily translate into a crisis situation for law and order. And this is what exactly has unfolded. But the question is why? What was this peaceful demonstration about? Wage we understand, but what triggered it? So when we look into the reasons what triggered it, the first reason here is that recently there was announcement of that Haryana had increased their wages significantly. What was the increase? Haryana had announced almost 35% increase. And this is where the workers in Noida wanted some parity with it. Now, from the context of your exam, two things that you can connect with the concept here, that this shows competitive federalism, but it also exposes the fact that there is absence of national wage floor. There is not a national policy present in this regard which could have not caused the difference in wage parity. Now, the second most important factor here that we see the presence of this factor across our country, that is decline in real wages. So, when we are talking about nominal wages, they have been stagnant somewhere between 11,000 to 15,000. But the problem here is that inflation, especially given the present crisis, we are seeing that food inflation and fuel inflation is also creeping up. So in this context, the real wage is diminishing. Furthermore, we also have factors such as informalization. There are no cap on work hours. Work hours extend for more than 12 to 15 hours. There is excessive exploitation because there is informal labor working. There is no cap or no flooring in terms of wages. And to top it off, when we are looking at institutional mechanisms, either they are non-existent, and if they are existent in scenario, for example, Code on Wages 2019, the problem here is it does talk about informal labor and institutionalization, but the enforcement in this regard is lacking. So it started with this trigger, but this all had been present and a pressing point for the workers, and they had nobody to address it with. Poor unionization, furthermore weak grievance mechanism where the redressal can be formed, and that is why this protest was not sudden. It was basically an accumulation of structural stress that had been created over time. Now the question is, what did the government do? When we are looking into it, there are certain angles provided to it, that there are certain external factors responsible for it, but there is no confirmation on it yet. So we would be not discussing that as of now, but we will be straight up moving to understand how the government has responded. So what government has done? Government has responded in two ways. First, it is in terms of policy, which we see in terms of wage revision. Second, it is in form of administrative responses. So when we are seeing wage revision, what they have done specifically for Noida and Ghaziabad for unskilled labor, it has been put up till 13,690, semi-skilled 15,059, and then skilled is 16,868. Other cities, you can see the number is comparatively lesser as compared to these particular cities, and rest of UP you will see then again almost a difference of more than 700 rupees exists on this side. But specifically the revision for the grieved area has been made, and this has been done overnight. So actually to ensure a short-term relief to the agitators which are present there. And the government has ensured that this will be implemented retrospectively. That means this is being put in place from April 1. So when we are talking about today, that is April 14, anybody who has been working in the informal sector, these wages are applicable for them from April 1. Now, we have understood the policy response. Then there are certain law and order measures that have been taken. For example, arrests have happened, scanning, surveillance, identification based on CCTV input, and intelligence inputs on external elements. So once we have more on this, we will try to understand that how external factors can affect the internal security and how that shapes up. But as of now, let us move to the next step that has been taken, and that is more of an administrative institutional step where a high powered committee has been set up, and there will be consultations with the stakeholders such as employees and labor organization, so that a long term and rather more effective implementation changes can take place, because wage revision is addressing the problem at the upper level itself. In order to understand and bring in broader policy changes, institutional steps have also been taken. But at the same time, this protest and the solution, the government response that have brought, they will be impacting, highlighting multiple other dimensions. So let us try to understand that as well, because when we are talking about this government response, when we see the impact on economic end, this government response will ensure that wages will increase. When the cost of the labor will increase, it will lead to increased cost of production. So if the cost of production is increasing, that will push inflation. We will be seeing emergence of cost push inflation, and the competitiveness present in our domestic economy, that will be reduced. It might also go ahead and harm our exports as well. But if you look on the other side, we also get to see because the wages have increased, it might result into increased demand. Because you have more money to spend, the demand in the economy might increase. Apart from that, we also have to look into the social dimension, because when we were talking about the reasons that has caused this protest, a bigger factor is present on the urban labor side, because they are hurt more by the inflation. So in this context, this protest does highlight that what is the distress of urban working class, and especially how it needs to understand the migrant precarity and how does that exist. And this is where we get to see that gradually there has been rise in working poor, especially concentrated in urban India. Apart from that, when we are talking about political dimension and from the end of policy, we clearly get to see that this protest led to a policy change. Now, that means people present on street are the ones making the decisions, and institutional governance might take a dip. Furthermore, this conspiracy of external factors is also present, but as of now this is more like a political framing. That's why we have not gone into that particular angle. But moving to the another dimension here, that is the legal factors. We clearly get to see the Code on Wages of 2019, there has been a weak enforcement on that. There is a clear huge gap between lying in front of us in terms of law which has been made and in terms of its implementation which should be done. Otherwise, this protest might have actually not emerged at all. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. I also want to discuss here the way forward, but I would also like to ask you what are the other pointers that you can add apart from the ones we are going to talk. For example, when we are talking about implementation, we have to strengthen labor governance. That means digital wage payments. DBT is a great example here. So, there is real-time compliance and monitoring of that compliance can also be done. We just mentioned that there is lacking of an absence of national floor wage. A national level policy can address this probably better, and this interstate disparity will be reduced. We need to focus on institutional mechanisms such as grievance portals and platforms which can facilitate negotiations, which can bring in stakeholders, which can bring in suggestions as well. Apart from that, formalization of labor is one of the most important fundamentals that we need to focus on, because that will only lead to reducing contractual exploitation and it will also facilitate social security expansion. Now, tell me in the comment section which are the schemes which have been taken up by the government to ensure the formalization of labor. And at this note, I will be leaving you here with the prelims practice question. Let me know the answer in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.